something about us that just wanted to go on and on and on, you know. So you experienced that too?
It's designed for that.
Well, then what am I doing up here? Careful what you say. How y'all doing?
Good.
Oh.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm just peachy. I'm flying today. Rolling with the changes, you know? All of the surprises that Spirit says, hey, I just want to test out where you're at in your humor level today. Are you having fun in spite of? In spite of what? Oh, you know, the sirens, the knocks on the doors, the strange visitors from other planets. I don't have those, but I just figured you guys probably do, so I just didn't want you to feel left out. So I thought I would say that. Today's about honoring the journey. We are definitely on a journey. Would you not agree? Man, when it comes to the relationship stuff, I just threw that out the window. Who needs relationships? We all do. Just remember what the wise man said. We're social beings. Without each other, we die. And I'll tell you what, this is about, when you honor the journey, how many of you are really clear that you're on a journey to be honored? Isn't that all it is a journey? And celebrating all that comes in the journey? Some people will say what we're going through right now in Unity Spiritual Center of San Jose is the hero's journey, a rite of passage. It's about moving from one plane of consciousness or one state of physical being to another, changing, letting go of belief systems that no longer serve, letting go of behaviors that no longer serve. It could be a number of different things. A rite of passage is about looking it square in the eye and saying, reading first, and then saying, thank you, God, for the manifestation that is currently in my life, which is all about my highest good and the highest good of everyone around me. That's what all of this is about, no matter how yucky sometimes the journey looks. And you know, and when I was thinking about, you know, today is really about how to learn how to appreciate one another. Do you like to be appreciated? You know, there's a study from a guy in Seattle. It's pretty accurate with it, with his working with couples, and he says the couples that stay together are the couples that have the highest level of appreciation for one another. He said 1 in 5. When a person is appreciated, they want to be present. They want to be here. It just gives them that sense of, yes. Who doesn't need a reminder that we're enough? Especially with all the stuff that we're bombarded with on a regular basis, that's all grounded in fear. But I have a, Bill, did you see my, I need another podium. I found it. Oh, thank you. Oh, Talks on Truth just won the floor. Part of the hero's journey. Sometimes we do fall on the floor. Did you hear about the little boy who was watching the minister of his church work in the garden and doing different things? And he said, I don't know what he said. I can't find the line. He was watching the minister for a long time do all of his work in the garden, and finally he said, well, my young friend, are you trying to get a hint or two about gardening? The little boy says, no, sir, I'm just wanting to hear what a minister says when he hits his thumb with a hammer. Don't you just love kids? They say it like it is. Oh, here's a good one. You'll appreciate this, maybe. Hopefully not. A little boy asked his father what was the highest number he had ever counted. Replying, his father said, well, I don't know. And he says, what's the highest number you've ever counted to? And he says, 973. And he says, well, why 973? Why did you stop there? He says, because the church service ended. You laughed a little too loud. Come on. Well, what's going on here at Unity Spiritual Center of San Jose is a lot. And there's a lot of movement going on. There's a vibration that is constantly moving and raising us into the next step, to the next level, to the next part of our journey, right? And it's all it's all synchronistic. Everything is happening so perfectly that I couldn't have orchestrated it better myself. And I won't get into all the details, but we said a prayer about 6 months ago, and the prayer was, we want to see us raise our consciousness. We want to grow. We want to expand. We want to know where our place is in this life, and as this spiritual community that is about attracting all that we're here to attract and embrace all that we're here to embrace, which is community, love, honoring one another, etc. And so we say thank you for hearing our prayers, because our prayers have been heard. How many changes have we experienced in the last 6 months or so? Right, look at the eyebrows raised, look at the eyes roll, look at the smiles, look at the sighs of relief. It's like, when are we going to get a break? I'm with you. I'm so with you. It's been exciting, and at the same time, it's like a friend said recently, and I won't use the exact words that he said, but when I let him know that the new landlord accepted our offer, he was kind of excited and all that kind of stuff, and he didn't show all the enthusiasm he really wanted to show, because he called me back later and he told me that. And he said, yeah, he goes, I was excited, but I realized I could have been more excited. What happened? Why was I holding back? And then I'm paraphrasing, mind you. And he says, but you know what it's like? I said, what? And he says, like when you're on a roller coaster, and you're all excited about being on the roller coaster until you get to that peak, and you're about to make the drop. The excitement is there, and at the same time you're going, oh, fill in the blank. And when he said that, I totally resonated with what he said. Wait, I'm a spiritual being. I don't go to those places. Oh, yes, I do. Just like you do. And so in our humanity, we got to learn how to appreciate each other as we go through these kinds of things. I would say we've done pretty well as a spiritual community, wouldn't you? At appreciating each other. I haven't seen anybody hauled off in an ambulance or in a police car in handcuffs or anything like that, which you'll see happen on television. What I've seen and experienced was something really, really wonderful yesterday. Now, if you weren't with us yesterday while we were doing some of the moving stuff, that's okay. This is not a guilt trip. This is simply an invitation. We've got another Saturday, and it's next Saturday. Please show up. Help us out. But something that I experienced yesterday while we were moving all of the stuff that we moved from here, loading the vans and the pickups. Everybody with a van and a pickup showed up yesterday, and we loaded them. And we went over to the new place, and we were unloading them. And I got to tell you, I saw that prayer, or that scripture come to life in a whole new way. You know the one that says, ask and you shall receive? How many of you really buy that? Okay, well, I'm testimony of that yesterday. Okay, everything I asked for, someone showed up with direction and answers. I'm not kidding you. And some of the stuff I didn't even have to say, because I was the one in charge, so to speak. We all laugh at that because we know it's a joke. There's only one source, one power, one presence. That's what's in charge. But it is neat that when we show up and we take on these roles that offer some kind of assistance for the collective whole to move in the direction that we're moving. And then a question does come up. And yesterday we had to really look at, okay, where are we putting everything? And where do we want everyone to be? And how do we want it to look? And da-da-da-da-da. Every time I went to that place of, well, gee, maybe the place I was thinking about isn't, and then someone will come up with an idea and it would be perfect. It happened all throughout, and you know how long it took us to do all that we did yesterday? Load all the vehicles, drive over to the new place, unload all the vehicles. You know how long it took? Maybe 2 hours. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, absolutely. Spirit was there. Spirit was there and orchestrated everything. Everybody was active. Everybody knew what their next step was to do. So when Philip said this morning that there is this electricity in the air, or isn't that the word you use, electricity in the air? I got God bumped so many times yesterday in the move, it was just amazing. It was like, oh my God, this is cool. This feels great. You know the bumps I'm talking about, you know? The one that you're just like, oh yes, I want it always to be like this. And that's what's going on. But you know what? It hasn't all been God bumps and angel bumps. It's been a whole lot of different stuff. You all have metaphors for the words that came in a whole lot of different stuff, because you experience it all the time in your own life. I love what Lotsow says in the Tao Te Ching. He says, in pursuit of learning, every day something is acquired. In the pursuit of Tao, every day something is dropped. And if you don't know what the Tao is the way. The Tao is about just learning how to show up and go with the flow of life as it's dealt with us. Not trying to manipulate it or control it, but just learning how to be like nature is and to just roll with the changes. I think Paul McCartney sings a beautiful song called Sing the Changes. I love it. I have it on my, I had my phone up here and the song is on there, but I didn't have a way to plug it in. Otherwise, I'd be playing it for you right now. Paul McCartney, Sing the Changes. If you haven't heard it, do it. It'll give you goosebumps. And if it doesn't, just see me. Do you agree with the idea that every change or every transition is an opportunity for us to embrace a deeper understanding, a bigger God in our lives? Well, I would say we're giants right now then. We've done nothing but transition and change in the last 6 months.
We did it for a year before you got here.
That only matters since I'm here. Isn't that interesting? So I've heard some people say, well, we've been in the wilderness for quite some time. Or we've been in a place of really, really needing to shift and move for quite some time. And and what I think about is I think about the Israelites in the desert wandering around in circles. How long did they walk around in circles? 40 years. I would say we're doing a really, really good job. What's interesting about it? So was the promised land, was the end result really what it was all about? Is it ever what it's all about? No, because as soon as we reach that promised land, we're creatures of expansion. We can't not be expanding. It is our nature. And so we reach one level and we say, thank you, Spirit. What's next? You guys said that a little bit too loud.
Yes, good for us.
Yeah, good for you. Because what that means is that there is a core, there is a foundation here that is saying yes to the expansion of the spirituality of this community in such a way that it will do nothing but expand and grow and open and invite. Invite who? Is it about inviting a lot of numbers and getting a lot of money? Well, of course it is. And it isn't. It's about all the above. It's about a collective consciousness. It's about people out there just like you and me, who are looking for the message that unity has and is all about the oneness of God, about us being creators of our own universe, about a Christ spirit, or whatever you want to call it. I like Christ spirit because I think the consciousness that Jesus demonstrated when he was here is a consciousness that I want to emulate. And then to say that we have ways of doing what we do that are provable. You get a scientist in the room and they say, I want demonstration that will produce facts, and we'll show you. Isn't that cool? It's not a pie in the sky. You'll get it someday, but you got to leave this physical form to get it. It says, no, the kingdom of heaven is
Right here.
right here. We're experiencing that now here, in spite of all of the appearances of error, or the appearances of what some people would say the dark side or the evil side. How many of you have a dark side?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yours seems a little loud sometimes. Yeah, yours is real big. I love yours. Yeah, I embrace it all the way. I do. I had a teacher one time to tell me, he was a teacher, he was a mentor, he was a sponsor. I'm not sure what he was. I've had so many in my life. I always seem to have one. They always seem to show up when I'm ready. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And he said something to me one day, and he said, you know what, Lennis? He says, if your goal doesn't scare the you-know-what out of you, it's not big enough. Well, I got to tell you, some of the goals that we are moving in the direction of are big enough. Because I feel it. I feel the stretch. I feel the Take a deep breath and take a step. Take a deep breath and take a step. Yeah, but no, take a deep breath and take a step. Yeah, but no, take a deep breath and take a step. That's prayer. Charles Fillmore was really big on prayer. You know what he said about prayer? You know what he said about going through anything, whether it was a business decision or a relationship decision or whatever the decision was or is that you're going through? Do you believe it? I didn't put a little sticky note in here and I found it on my own. Thank you, God! See, that's a celebration. And at this point in time of the game, I'm all for celebrating every little thing that I can celebrate. And if you're not, I'll show you some things to celebrate. All I got to do is look in your eyes for about 15 seconds. All I got to do is hug you. All I got to do is have a conversation with you. I'll show you. I'll share with you what I see. I'll share the beauty. If you want me to point out some of the flaws, I'll say, nah, you're good at that. What would it be like if we were simply here to appreciate one another, and that's all? That's the only job we have. What would that be like? You'll know what that's like the more time you spend in coherence, in that heart space, where you're breathing in and out as the heart of God. Charles Fillmore was so big into prayer, and you know, as Philip said earlier, and when he was up here, Unity is founded, and we are a prayer-based ministry. I feel for ministries who aren't grounded and solid and prayer-based. But I'll tell you, I love Charles' expression of prayer. It's like, is there a right way to pray? No, there's not a right way to pray. But when we're on the hero's journey and we're going through all of those times, then we need to know that sometimes the short version of the Serenity Prayer is the best, not your version. The short version of the Serenity Prayer is help. You know what Serenity Prayer is? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference, right? Say it to yourself. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Would you notice in your energy? How long did it take? Charles is great. He says it doesn't matter if your prayer is you laughing hysterically, communing with Spirit. It doesn't matter how you show up as long as you do. He says this about prayer. He says if you go to prayer, God will do this. God will show you what true success is. Use God in every hour of every day. If you're in doubt about a business move, no matter how trivial, close your eyes for an instant and ask the silent one within yourself what to do. Just as you would send a mental message to one whom you know and who could catch your thought. It is as simple as that. So isn't that sweet? Isn't that a good thing to be reminded of, especially as we're going through this journey and being the heroes that we are? And the reason that I call us heroes is because we are saying yes to it. We are willing to move through it and go through it. You guys have been here for what, over 15 years, right? We have been here for a long time. We have disrupted everything that this place has been about, right? We are moving like crazy. I gotta tell you, there's something that a couple of my prayer partners, we prayed yesterday morning, and it's so sweet because we all three of us, we always are saying the same thing: with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. Let this be so, with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. Let this move take place with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. Let me have this conversation with you with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. Let me affirm that the desires of my heart are being made manifest with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. And then when we just really, really want to go to that place of, yeah, bud, or ain't it awful? And we just can't seem to, get the words of appreciation to show up. We'll turn to one of our books, and we all have libraries, full of them probably. I don't know. You want to have a contest to see who has the most. I'll probably lose because I don't have very many books. And denial is not River in Egypt. But when we go through the drama places, how many of you have ever been addicted to drama? How many of you have ever had anyone tell you that you're a drama king or a drama queen? I've been called both. I just say yes to the occasion. I love John. My friend John says kingdom, and sometimes he says queendom. In the queendom of God. You may think it has something to do with the sexuality. It probably does, but no more than yours or mine. Anyway, you want to hear what this book says?
Sure.
Well, it's a long one. You got a few hours? No, seriously, when we go into the drama, listen to what she said, or what Rasha says. Rasha is an entity just like Abraham, for those of you who listen to Esther Hicks, right? And so it's channel materials like the Course, just like the Way of Mastery, just like all of the books that we just cherish and love. And what Rasha says is this, right in the middle of the page in the first chapter says, there is a place within the depths of one's being where opportunities that defy linear logic are able to unfold. The key to maximizing the pace of your process lies in the degree to which you are able to let go and cease directing the scenarios of your drama. Allow life to unfold for you. And recognize the potential in the synchronicity that presents itself. Note the perfection in the results. Consider the possibility that your best interests are best served by a level of awareness that transcends your conscious mind. So, the key to maximizing the place of your process lies in the degree to which you are able to let go and cease directing the scenarios of your drama. We had a drama this morning when I walked in the door. I mean, no more than I take 3 steps in the door, we have a little drama show up. Shook my boat a little bit, even though it doesn't make any sense that it did, but it did, because it was unexpected. And I thought that's because of what we're talking about today. This wouldn't have happened if we weren't talking about this. So it's like whatever we're affirming in our life, whatever we're celebrating in our life, can we handle what shows up that doesn't look like that which we are celebrating? Even though what happened this morning is definitely a celebration. It's a form of communication coming together and everybody being on the same page and getting that Unity Spiritual Center of San Jose is out of here. And we are grateful. Now, what's it like? Anytime we let go of something, especially if it's been sacred, especially if it's been precious, especially if there's been a lot of time and energy and hard work, a lot of prayer, a lot of spirit. Anytime we get to a place and we say goodbye to something that encompasses all of that, there's feelings that come up, right? And then this is a beautiful sacred space. And we're saying goodbye, and we're celebrating the saying goodbye. But you know what? Some of us are not at times. Sometimes it feels really big, and sometimes it feels really scary, and sometimes it just feels everything other than celebrating and fuzzy. What is it like for those of you who have been here a short time or a long time? What is it like to be saying goodbye to what has been your spiritual home?
It's a loss.
For over 15 years. It's a loss.
loss.
Yeah.
Big hole.
It's a hole. There could be sadness. And if there is, what do you do with the sadness? There could be upset. There could be anger. How many of you are aware of the stages of grief? You know, the first one is denial. Oh, there's no way we're moving. I went into it when it first came, even though in my heart of hearts I knew over 6 months ago that that's what would eventually happen here. And yet, now that it's happening, how do we honor each other on the journey? We're all on it differently, right? Some of us are new or newer than others. How do we honor each other, hold the space for each other, embrace each other going through what we're going through while we continue on this journey that we're calling the hero's journey, honoring the sacred? Yesterday it was real easy. There was a flow happening, and even during the frustrating moments of confusion, it was easy. Because there seemed to be a synchronicity. There seemed to be an understanding and a knowing with every one of us that this is for the highest good, in spite of what it may feel like and look like from time to time. And that's the way everybody seemed to show up. Did you guys experience that yesterday? I mean, was it sweet? It was flowing. I mean, I'm not kidding you. Sometimes one word is all that needed to be said, and sometimes not even a word needed to be said. There was somebody there showing up to be of service to somebody else or about something else. That's what a community does, that has a consciousness that is deep, that is rich. And at the same time, in the excitement, we must hold the space for each other to grieve, to let go. It's not always easy. It's definitely not always fun. But it's necessary. Do you know that there are some people believe, and I believe that they're more in the psychological field than any, and they say that unless a person really moves through the grief process, they've never really grieved it, and it will show up in areas where it's most unexpected. So I encourage you, feel the sadness. Experience the grief. If you're angry about it, experience the anger, express the anger. Not in a way that's going to bring harm to you or anybody else, but be with it. Find somebody to talk to about it. Let it all hang out, so to speak. And understand and know that as long as it's not violent and it's not hurtful or harmful to another person, it's all appropriate and it's all necessary. So I really encourage you to allow yourself to feel. You don't have to put on a unity face that says, it's all good. I see that a lot in the movement. And sometimes it's legitimate. And sometimes it's covering grief and loss. And that's where we are. So let the celebration be the celebration. And let the grief be the grief. And the way I really believe that the greatest way we can appreciate each other is by experiencing a level of acceptance, but always looking for what is there that I can be appreciative of in this person that I want to rip their face apart. What is it that I can be appreciative of in this moment? Because sometimes people will say or just do certain little things, and it'll push that button inside of us, and we think it's about them, and we know it's just about our unsettledness, our ungroundedness in our own spirit and our own being. As I always say, in many circles, I always say that people, places, and things are my spiritual barometer. They always let me know where I am in my spiritual path. And they let me know that by the way I react and respond. We'll get another look at that this afternoon on the golf course. The golf course always shows me where I'm at on my spiritual journey. So I want to just bring this to a close and just say, it is a time to honor the journey for everyone here. It is a time to honor this spiritual community, to celebrate it, and to know that it is rising to a higher vibration. Next week will be our first service at the Bernal place. This is it. This is the last time we will meet in this sanctuary, in this sacred place. This is where it all started for me. So I don't want to say I have some attachments, but there are some things that come up for me that represent a grief in myself about letting go of what has become familiar and what has become a place that I can call home. We've lost people. We've had people move. We've had people We had a keyboard player, well, Michael, you all know and love Michael. Michael was given an opportunity to step up and show up in the way that I needed him to step up and show up as a music leader. And Michael said no. And so he left. There's feelings about that. There has been feelings. Michael and Darlene, beloved couple who have been here for years. Last Sunday or the Sunday before was their last Sunday here as congregants, as people who have been key